Welcome back to another enemy AI tutorial for GameMaker Studio, and today we're gonna do this, what you're seeing in front of the screen, which is this turret dude. And if the angle is good enough, then well, it can kind of start firing off. And this is maybe what you've seen in Contra games, or maybe some other side scrollers or shooters or whatever, and therefore such a thing is always easy and good to use as a stationary turret or something which you want to do. And by the way, I cheated a little bit here, so basically this is not the best kind of coding, but it should be good enough for this example. So if you're up for the challenge, stick around. This is One Up Indie. I am a developer, so if you like this content, hey, why not consider sharing, liking and subscribing, of course. Okay, so the theory and the practice is kind of easy. So basically we got a torrent which is consisting of two parts. So here we got the bottom part which is stationary, and then we just take this thing and rotate it towards a target. Of course, if the target is kind of in a ring around it. And then, for example, because we don't want this to go instantly where the target is, therefore we're gonna rotate it a little bit slower. And then, for example, if the difference of the angle is in between where we want to have it, so basically let's say like 10 or something, then we start already shooting in the direction where this torrent is pointing at. And this is the whole magic of that. Of course, why did I say I cheated? Because I did this. We are starting from the middle because everything is centered in the middle, then we are firing. Then of course it looks good, but of course actually we should be doing it a little bit the other way around. But I wanted to make this video short and therefore easy peasy to use. Alrighty, so we got tons of things here. Basically just two objects, which is first of all our bullet dummy, which has nothing in there. We just give it a sprite, then completely forget it. And here we come to the meat and potatoes of our torrent. And then of course we got three events. And well, the step event will update the angle. The draw event will, for example, draw the torrent there. And then, for example, my torrent consists basically just of two sprites, which is 0 for the well, the kind of the socle or whatever, this thing which is static, and then of course here this thing which is centered in the middle. This is very important, which is then getting rotated. And this is basically it. So first of all, we can just say like, hey, draw self. Here we go. And of course we need to take into consideration not to animate, so basically this would look kind of silly, so therefore we are not doing some crazy graphical mishmash magic, which we don't want. And then we say draw. No, we say draw sprite external, and then here we just fill out the regular stuff. So I don't want to bore you with all that, and therefore I'm gonna copy paste it. So basically everything will look green. So basically the sprite index, the same sprite. Then of course the image index was 1 for the thing which is rotating. Then we're taking everything over, so basically just copy paste it. And then we have a variable which we call angle, and this one is at the beginning at 0, and this one will be used for turning around well, the torrent part. And for that, for example, first of all, we just say like, hey, and this is of course not mandatory, but I think this is a nice practice. We just have kind of a sight range. And therefore, the last thing which we do in our draw event, we just draw a nice circle around it. But this is just for debugging with our sight range, which is, what was it, 150 pixels. And then if we are in the sight range, cool, let's start rotating. So the first thing which we do is we are just checking, hey, is the player near? So basically we are kind of in a sight range. Of course, a little bit abstract because it's a torrent. Talking about sight with torrents, but it's video games, so it's magic. Everything is legal here. So basically, we're just saying like, hey, if the distance to our object player, of course, if you destroy the player, then this will crash. So therefore, just be careful about that. But besides that, easy peasy stuff. If we are for example, in our range, which is good. Then we start doing our stuff, which is first of all getting a perfect direction towards the player, and this is being done by point direction. So first of all, we store this perfect direction, which is pointing from ourselves to the player. So point direction, here we go, X, Y, and then of course of the player. This is once again the ideal direction. So basically this is basically just instantly like saying like, hey, where is it? This is the ideal one, and therefore we need to use this information and turn around a little bit slower. So we just say like, hey, our actual angle which we're using for the turn part is Xenos, and then yeah, this is a little bit complicated, but not too much, hopefully. And then we lerp. What do we lerp? Well, we just say lerp direction. So this is this direction minus the angle, so this one. And then we need kind of because this will return a very small value, and then here this value will determine how fast we rotate. So we just have another variable which is called rotation speed, and this one we set to, I don't know, 0.5 per step. So here we go. And then for example, we could already check this out because this already works. So once again, perfect one, and here is the actual one which is turning around with a specific speed. So here these things are kind of fixed, and then we don't have this wonky going which I had in other videos. So but let's see how this already fares. Alrighty, so what you're seeing, first of all, this is our side range defined by this circle, and for example, once we're entering the circle, you can see that the turret is turning around quite slowly. Of course, we haven't implemented the old stuff, and this is actually the other turret which I'm using, so my bad. We should actually, because they all look the same, we should just put our one in here, and then this would basically do the same besides the shooting. So let's jump into the other part where we actually do some shooting. So therefore we could actually edit instantly. So for example, are we in a near angle? So basically what we want to have is an angle difference. So if angle difference, and for angle difference you need kind of two angles. So basically we can just take the ones which we're having, doesn't really matter, between those two, boom. And then for example, if they're smaller than, I don't know, 15, then we can actually do something. A little word of caution, because this is not working for now. Why is that? Well, because this number could be negative. So we just say absolute, and then we remedied our issue with that. And then for example, the last thing which we're going to do, and this is a completely standard thing which I normally do, we just have kind of a timer which is running down, and then once the timer runs down, it refreshes and we shoot. This is basically what we do. So once again, if we are in range and if the angle difference is opportune, so basically between 15 degrees, then we run down our timer, so minus, and then if this timer is smaller or equal to 0, boom, we shoot a bullet, and then of course we just reset our timer, and which is then 30, now let's go 20, boom. And then the last thing which we're going to do is basically just create a bullet. Hopefully you've seen that a lot of times in my videos, hopefully, if not, well, this is the first time. First of all, we create an instance of our bullet, and for now this is doing nothing, and because we set it on the same layer, it will be below this thing, and therefore we can kind of cheat because we are centered in the middle. And then for example, what we do, we just give it a nice little speed, so speed let's move somewhere, and then of course we want to send it to a specific direction. Which direction? Well, the same as the angle, because this angle is pointing at the same spot. So therefore we just say bullet direction, here we go, is equal to angle, and we are done with the whole shenanigans. So let's check it out. So this is now the correct one. Let's see how it works, but this is basically the same code, as you can see, turning around, and once we are in range, boom boom boom, we are shooting fast. So basically that was it. Hopefully that was of interest to you, because this turning motion is actually very useful for homing and other things where you have kind of a rotation, but you want to kind of delay it and make it more interesting for the player. Alrighty, that was it from my side. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and see you the next time. Have a good one. One up in.